Hey there, everyone. Welcome to the live stream. We are at episode 53. 53 last week. We made it to a year of live streams. So 52 weeks worth, even though it took us a little bit longer, but we made it. So glad to have you on the stream this evening. We will let people kind of join. My stream is very simple. It's laid back. It is conversational, so feel free to chime in the comments wherever you are watching, whatever platform you're on. So glad to have you on the live stream tonight. A year or two ago, I started teaching myself to paint, and so that's what this is about. I am still learning, bringing you along on the journey. So I paint every week, typically Mondays at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 7 p.m. Central. I paint a new painting every week, or at least start a new painting every week, and engage in conversation with you. So glad to have you all on the live stream. I do see Lola's in the room. Hey Lola, always a pleasure to see you as always. So glad to have you. I hope you're staying warm up there. We have had kind of these dips where it's like this. Today it was snowing. This weekend it was 40 degrees. I got out on the trail, did a little hiking. It was chilly, but it wasn't cold. But then, a few days later, it's a high of like 10 degrees. So we just kind of take it as par for the course this time of year. No? So for those of you that have followed my live stream for any length of time, you'll know that one of the things I've put off for quite some time is portraiture, but it's something that I wanted to dive into. I wanted to learn to paint portraits of people that I figured would be really challenging, because in a landscape, if a tree is a little crooked or the mountain's not quite right shape, you can adjust it. But if someone's nose is in the wrong place or eyes are off, it's a little more difficult to improve. But I did my first portrait this week. If you will follow me on Instagram, you saw maybe some of that. Also, I think I included it in the vlog that went live this week. I'm going to try to include in the vlog videos some of the kind of a segment of what I'm doing in the studio, what's going on in the live stream, so that you can keep track if you don't always get to the live stream. So that's the plan. But if you did not catch that, I wanted to show you the painting I did this week of this woman. I don't know, it was a reference photo, I don't know her, but I specifically wanted to work on the eyes, and so I'm really happy with how this turned out for a first attempt at a human being. I felt it was pretty good. Obviously, there are things I would improve. There are things I know that I will learn as I grow and do this more. But that's what I've been working on in the studio this past week. But that was fun. It was a great little painting and a good time. So let me show you what we're going to do this week on the live stream. Hi there, Mom and Dad. Great to have you joining. So glad that you were able to join. All right. And I did see we are live on Facebook as well. That's something that we weren't able to get the last few weeks for some reason. Let me put before I forget it, I'll just put there we are with my palette. So that is set. Let me see, that camera is crooked. Let me correct it real quick, if you'll bear with me. I want to rotate this. There we are. Now it's more accurate. Okay. You're seeing what I'm looking at. Okay, so this week I want to work on this painting, this reference photo that you see on the right-hand side of your screen. We are going to work on this. Specifically, I want to focus on the interplay of light and shadow in the trees and on this kind of grassy area. I think the challenge will be that there's significant background. There's a lake and some other things in the background, but there's also all of this beautiful interplay of the light up in the foreground. So that's going to be the challenge on this week's painting, to get this all to play right. Also, I think another challenge, and one of the reasons I wanted to do this, is I want to put more of a path in. You can see on the reference photo, there is kind of a worn path of where people have walked, but I think I want to kind of play with the composition a little bit and see if I can make that more visible, more pronounced, so that it feels like you're kind of walking along this path and the lake is out there in front of you. So those are kind of our objectives starting out, and we'll see how we go. But let me bring you in closer to the canvas so that you can see what exactly is going on. All right, let me just kind of arrange things, get things all settled. That's not tilting the way I want. Let's see. Oh, the camera actually tilts. There we go. It's like, why isn't this working? Hi there, Jasmine. So glad to see you. Happy New Year. I hope your 2022 is off to a smashing start. And I hope this year will treat us all better than the last year or two has. All right, we need to start making some decisions on this painting. So let's think about, I hate to say, it's an awful pun, let's think big picture. All right. We obviously have background, foreground. I think what I'm going to do is start in with some brown tones. Hi there, Bob G. So good to see you. I hope that the weather you had that we sent you has vacated Little Rock and it's warmed up a little bit. Send that cold back north to us. I know it's often more difficult for y'all down there than it is. I mean, it's not fun up here, but it's a little more, we're a little more equipped to deal with the cold weather. I am just putting out on my palette some browns and white, and we're going to start kind of putting in some of this composition and make some decisions about the composition. So I think the first thing I want to kind of put in are some major, kind of make decisions for like the major parts of the painting. So we basically have two halves of the painting, this foreground and the background. I think what I want to do, though, I'm changing my mind midstream, is I think that I want to kind of put in, I probably should have toned this canvas, but that's okay. I want to put in the background, because I don't know kind of strategically how to start this. I want to, oh, beautiful in Arkansas River, mid 60s. Oh, that is perfect weather. Not too cold, not too warm. I want to put some of this in just to kind of give us some beginning. So let's say that's the horizon line, and the lake is kind of here. I know I'm painting it brown. It won't stay that way forever. Kind of mix some of this dark. Give us some idea of these trees back in here. There's something happening back on that. There. Okay. Then we want to do this. In the foreground, we kind of have this darker area. These will be greens and again, we're going for light and dark values more than color, obviously, just to get this blocked in a little bit. There's kind of the light and shadow here. There's some light here, light up in here, some down in here. There's a major kind of shadow in here that's this is all kind of shadow area. There's some shadow there, a little shadow there. This is all wet on wet, so it's not very precise, but it gives us an idea and covers the canvas. I think we do want the highest, the brightest bright. Right here. I really want to, these lights along the bank, the brights, I really want to raise that up. And then, so I may bring some more shadow down in here that's not in the reference photo, and shadow over here, so that it's really kind of clear that this is the shadows kind of, or the light is shining through these areas, but we'll make some of those decisions as we go. Okay, this may not look like anything, maybe rough, but that is okay. I am wondering, this is kind of, it looks like it is maybe mid-afternoon. I wonder if we could push it even more. Let's try something. Let's push it and see if we can push it a few hours later. So we'll try it. We will try. Let's give the sky some cover. So we're going to do some blue, maybe some of this darker blue, just to give us a little more contrast. We'll see. We shall see. That's what this is about, testing things a little bit. So we'll take this darker than it would be. We'll come in up here, make it darker. Can always brighten it, right? What I'm doing is adding a little bit more white to the, this is something I've learned. I'm adding more white to the paint as I come down so that when we get down here and then you bring that up and notice how it creates that really nice sky gradient as you go up. The darker colors, of course, are at the top, and then the lighter colors. You can see that happening on my palette. See how the palette, I have the gradient there, and how that happens here also in the sky. So let's bring light up. I think what I want to do is actually, well, I'll cover this. Then I think I want to do some, once this dries, we'll give it a minute to dry. We'll put in maybe some light and shadow down below. There we go. Now we have a nice gradient sky to work with. And this is just a start. But I want to, whoops. I keep saying I want to. I want to create a sunset over here so that it's actually lower. And then I want to create some interest in the sky in these clouds so that the clouds are a little more interesting than the actual reference photo. But I'm going to be doing this all from imagination, and you all know my history with clouds. So we are going to see what we can do if we can make that happen. I want to go in. I don't know if it's too... I want to brighten this up a little bit. Because I still want the light kind of coming from the right-hand side. So I want, as we go, remember what we said about a few weeks ago about the sky? As you go away from the horizon, you have more atmosphere. You have more atmosphere to look at through the horizon. So it's going to be lighter color here. And the same is when it gets closer to the light source, which is the sun, it's going to get darker over here. So we really need this to be our brightest spot right there, and then these darker sides to be, or this side to be kind of the darker. What that may allow us to do then is come in with that the clouds, yeah, with more, let's see. We'll take some of this blue. So let's bring some of this blue that's starting to dry. So we're getting some marks, but we'll just keep it real light. We want, again, I want to darken some of this so that it makes sense. There, by adding a little bit, I think that's giving us, even just with white and blue, you start to see a light source over here. So that's good. All right. Okay. As always, feel free to ask questions or to make suggestions as we go. Now, I'm going to leave the sky for just a second, let it kind of chill out a little bit. As we think of this sky, we also have to think of the water because it's going to change how the water is based on the sky. So let's see actually if we can go backwards. Let's see if we can do the sky and configure our sky a little bit, our sunset, by what we're doing in the sky, or in the water, I'm sorry. So if we want to have a sunset over here, ooh, that's got some blue in it. I guess that's okay because the water's blue. So let's put some yellow in. This is going to be our sunset. And I guess we can come all the way across because we can cover it up and yellow is really translucent. There we go. We start to see then when we have the yellow in, let's say we have some, well, we're going to definitely have some oranges and reds, right? So let's get a little bit of that. We know from middle school that yellow and red make orange. So we don't really, I mean, I have orange, but we can just mix it here, which is something I didn't think I would say very often. If you remember in the beginning, I was like, oh, I'm not good at mixing color. Okay, we have some yellow, some red. Give us a good kind of reddish orange. Let's look at where would that come in. So probably more over here is going to be where the red's going to, or the orange is going to, as it gets away from the light source, it's going to be more the darker colors here. So we want to do that orange and red, more yellow there. The brightest spots will be over here. As we get further away, it's going to be more. And we know that blue and red make what? Purple. So we can bring a little purple. By mixing this all together, it looks like a hodgepodge, but mixing it all together gives continuity in these different colors, which is subtle. So let's come over here and bring in some of the purple. Then we can go on top of this, and the thought is then we can put in some highlights where we want the sun shining specifically on the water. So that's the thought, at least. We will see if that is executed well, if I'm able to do it. All right, it's kind of murky right now, but this is pretty dry. So let's go back to the sky and see if we can put in some of this just roughly. Okay, but I took so much of my palette to do the underpainting that I'm gonna already have to switch out my colors. And as always, I did not take any, let's see, starting photos. So let me try to do those. Yeah, this will be interesting to see what comes out of this. Okay, now, all right, it looks like a few more people have joined us. So if you have not chimed in on the comments, you're welcome to do so. Thank you for joining us. So glad to have you. Again, my live stream is pretty laid back. We are not very precious around here with how this deal gets done. So on my new palette, I'm mixing some white, which you probably can't see on the white plate, because I want to come in here and really lighten that up. Bring it quite a ways up into the sky. So we do layers. This will give us maybe some feeling of clouds. But that'll get covered up eventually. So let's do, down here I want almost pure white. There's a little blue that shows through in this corner, but almost pure white. Around the white, I want some yellow. See how we can do that? Then all of a sudden we start to brighten our sky up, saying, oh, there's a sunset happening here. As it moves away from the light source, it's going to become more chromatic, meaning more both from the horizon up and the horizon across. It's going to be, so the darker yellows are going to be up higher. And over here, this is where we're going to start to get the diffusion, where we have more. Now this light is shining right on there, but if I turn this off, then you can kind of see what's happening. And we can take some red and bring it back into this. And we just light up this whole sky. Again, most of this is an experiment, so hold your breath with me because I'm not sure how it's going to turn out. Hey there, Marta. Welcome. Thank you so much for pausing your dinner. Although you can feel free to eat right through the live stream. We will never know. This started as an experiment to see if we could make the sky a little more dramatic. It's becoming really dramatic. But that's okay, because I like a dramatic sky. And we're bumping time. See, where time, we create and move time as artists. We're bumping the sunset, this reference photo, back a couple of hours to the sunset. And so we are darkening it. Let's take a little more blue. Let's see. I think we need the other. Let's do actually a magenta. That might give us a little more of the purple hue that we're looking for. It's really purple. We may not need the dramatic clouds I was talking about earlier if we can make this work. All right, let's just bring this down in here. We'll give some of that. This will automatically give us some of the feeling of, see how putting dark around the light just makes the sun be like, oh, it's super bright over there. So we'll see if we can clean this up a little bit. I just wanted to kind of see where we were going. Let's see if we can incorporate some of this. Now it's kind of muddy, but we'll get there. Filled my water jar a little bit high today, so it's, when I'm cleaning my brush sloshing a little bit. Okay. Let me turn off that so you can see it without the glare. So it's kind of muddy, kind of a mess. We'll need to clean up some of the gradient, but it gives us an idea of the direction we're going, and I think we're going in the right direction. We will see if we're going in the right direction or if I just drove you guys off the edge of a cliff with my lack of knowledge and experience. But how do you get knowledge and experience? You try something that doesn't work. Or figure out something that does. So anything that's down here is going to be diffused in intensity because the light is actually reflecting off the water or shining through the water. And so you won't have quite the intensity of light down here unless the light is shining right on the water. Then it will be almost intense. But if it's at this, where it's low in the ground, it's going to be shining off the top of the water. So you're going to get a little less intensity, which works for us artistically because we want the sky to be the most brilliant part. Now, what will be interesting that I just thought of after I've done all this adjusting of the background for the trees, what's going to be interesting to see is if the background being so vibrant and all the stuff of the colors, if that is going to distract us from what I wanted to be the focal point, which is this path kind of going through the underbrush. So let's hope not, but it very possibly could. Okay, now let's do some mixing here of some colors for specifically this space that's out there in the foreground. What I want to really do is, because we're adjusting the light so much, I want to try to see if we can figure out how to do the foreground now. That's going to be a challenge because we have different color schemes, so it won't look exactly the same. I'm mixing all my greens and my ultramarine blue and raw sienna to try to get as dark a green as possible and a little bit of a diffused green. So I'm going to take a little red and put it in there. A little red with green will diffuse it and turn it more a murky brown. See, it's like, oh, it got blurry on us, didn't it? Let me see if I can fix that. Nope, it's not wanting to focus. Sorry about that. Well, you can still see the color. It's that very dark kind of. So let's come in and make some decisions. Over here is going to be our darkest spot because that's just going to kind of, and these over here I could probably put although they'll need to be more brown. They don't. I'm going to give us some, there's going to be a crest of this kind of hill is going to be some light reflecting off the crest of this hill, but most of this is going to be darkness, especially out here. And because the light's coming this way and it's not as high up as the reference photo, we won't have as much light, or I'm not going to put as many highlights over here. I'm going to have the light coming in at a slant as opposed to kind of more direct, if that makes sense. So we'll put this. I do think we want some light along. I don't want to distract. I want all of the interest right in here. So I don't want to put too much anything real bright over there. And I think I will actually move these shadows over here. So maybe I'll just underpaint this. Again, it's not going to hurt anything. That will be good. Kind of dark undercoat again. Then we will take a little bit of this green, sap green. Let me take a little burnt umber, mix this. Maybe even a little yellow ochre. We'll come in and see if we can start laying in that. So this is where the crest of the hill will happen, or the crest of that bank. And then what I want is some shadow, some light going this way. So the shadows are, oh, again, I'm not making too much sense, but I kind of know what I'm going for. So the shadows are elongated this way. We'll just have to make sure that we're as good as possible with that. Okay, I'm going to bring a lot of yellow. That's going to be really bright. Take some green. A little magenta to diffuse the yellow. This is just me trying to start to see where I might want some of these light places to lie. Mother, if you're still listening, they are lying, not laying. Oh, their two kids are watching with me. I had to explain what a live video was. They kept asking to pause it. Oh, hello, Beth and Amos. Thank you for watching with your mother. It's good to have you on the live video. Yes, I can't pause it unless I actually stop. There, it's paused. Do you see my hand's not moving? Okay, now we're active again. Okay. This is giving me a little bit, it's working a little bit. So let's see. I'm going to take some photos again, and it gives me a chance to step back from the painting and look at it. All right, can y'all believe we're like almost an hour in? My goodness. Me too. I hope that as I develop my skills that I can get better and better at doing striking sunsets. If you want some striking sunsets on Instagram or YouTube, check out Chuck Black Art. Chuck Black, like the color black. He is a really talented wildlife artist, and he does some really great light work in his landscapes that it's just kind of like breathtaking. So if that is of interest, Miss Marta or others, definitely check out Chuck Black Art. He is seems like a really nice guy and is definitely talented. Okay. There. I just decided to lighten up the lake a little bit since our light up here is so bright. And I'm going to yeah, we'll have to figure out what's happening with the sky because I'm not quite sure. But it's getting there. Sometimes these things just come together. Remember last week, the cherries? I just kept fumbling around and suddenly the cherries worked. And I was like, what? Ooh, this is shocking. Okay, so now I think I want to set that brush aside and grab one of my trusty filbert brushes, and I want to figure out how to make this path more, not only more visible, but more of interest. Any suggestions, any thoughts? I have an idea of something I want to try, but I'm not sure. Any thoughts to make the path a little more interesting, visually interesting here in the foreground? I would love to hear your ideas or thoughts. This could be painting technique-wise. This could be composition-wise. What do you think? Could be light and shadow-wise. You know, there's a little bit of a delay in what I am saying and when it gets to you all. Okay. Amos thinks you need clouds as they both laugh. You are right, Amos. I need some clouds right here, right? Because these colors just, I mean, they look like clouds a little bit. Let me turn off the light. You can see. But it's just the colors. You can't see the actual definition of the clouds. So Amos, in putting in the clouds, I put in the dark parts. So when I come back, I'll be able to put the highlights and the kind of bubbles of the clouds down the side. And that will show the definition because the light is coming from this side and it's reflecting off of the clouds. So the bright edges will be along this kind of roughly along this ridge. But you're right, it's just all the colors in right now, so it doesn't look quite right. Okay, for this path, I think what we're going to do, we have a little bit of highlight here. I think what I'm going to try is to come in with some shadow to more clearly indicate a bank. So we'll see if that actually works. I don't know if it will. So I'm coming in with really kind of a dark brown. And it may end up just kind of not working at all, but we will see. It will blend in there as it gets further away. But we need something to indicate there's kind of a and it's not dry enough. I think it's too tacky still. But we'll see if we can. Beth said that's cool. Cool. I'm glad you think it's cool, Miss Beth. Okay. Now, then what I'll do, I think, we'll put in that dark here. I think I want to do the same, like I want it to disappear into the so we'll kind of do some of this dark here so that the path comes in. The good thing about trying all this stuff is all of these layers create texture on your canvas. So even if an idea doesn't work, the extra layers and texture of paint really help you to start to build up some layers and can add some real interest. But I think it's just not dry enough. We'll see. This is turning into quite a different painting than when I look at it. I'm like, oh, it's such a beautiful lake. I don't want to put trees in the way. That path reminds me of the rocks from a few weeks ago with the red lighthouse. Oh yes, when I was doing the coaster, the big red. That's I think it's up in Michigan, right? Lola, if you're still with us, I think it's Big Red is in Michigan. Can't remember where, but I looked it up. It's on the lake actually, but just that I'm craving Northeast lobster rolls. Yes. Yes. Well, Marta, that is just a sign from the universe that you need to go take a trip. I think you need to do a Marta travels Northeast United States and tries every crab shack and not crab shack, lobster whatever along the way. I don't know what they call lobster restaurants, but you get the deal, or you get the idea. I'm just playing around here because I don't know. I just took a little yellow, but it's way too bright, I think. Because see how it brings it way forward? So doing that, I wonder if I can take a little Hum, 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 hum. Instead of cadmium yellow, if I can take some, I said yellow ochre earlier, but it's actually cad yellow. This is yellow ochre. So I can take that, I'm going to mix it with this kind of dark color that I have over here so that I have kind of a diffused brownish gray. Let's I think so. Yes. Yeah. Big Red. I think I'm right, but I don't know. But I think it's in maybe on Lake Michigan, or perhaps even I'm sure it's on Lake Michigan, not Lake Superior, but who knows? Let's see if we can. It's gonna give us, but this can give us some of the idea of how that light is shining through the trees. We may have to do that a little different. This this path out into wherever it goes down the way. Then what we can do is the same thing we did before with the dark. We can actually come in and some of that not as pronounced. See, someone who knows automatically what they're doing wouldn't have to oh, I did that last September, aiming for an epic trip to Michigan this summer. Excellent. Summer is a great time to visit Michigan because it's hot down south and it's generally cooler up north. Although, depending on when you go, that could be a false statement as well. But I'm sure it will be cooler than Little Rock most of the summer. Of course, I visited a couple of years ago before the pandemic kicked off. I visited Denver and I left Arkansas so excited because I was going to get some relief from the hot weather, and then got to Denver on the hottest day of the year for some time in history. It was over 100 degrees in Denver, and I was in downtown Denver on the street. It was so hot, terribly uncomfortable. Trying to figure out how to, I'm probably way over painting this path. So, yep, I'm now. Okay, so let's walk back from this a little bit and just Okay. Well, I think it worked, like having the kind of a darker edge obviously gives us the we'll give our eye just the suggestion of some trees and things over here across the lake. Gives our eye something to anchor the horizon on. Now, I think Amos was right about the clouds, but let me see how these clouds are fairly distant, so we don't want them really big and poofy because we're looking at them across the lake and we're not looking up at them, so they're not going to be like giant dramatic. I mean, they're going to be dramatic, but I need to think they're going to be more horizontal than vertical in that regard. So I really need to think of the light shining up off of them. So let's see what we can do with that information and thinking about that. So let me see first. Let me come and do something like this. Amos, if you're still watching, we are going to figure out the clouds right now. So let's put some stringy clouds, kind of stringy clouds, right in here, across there. I'm just trying to, because I don't have a plan for this, I'm trying to construct the clouds as I go. The thing with this is we can always paint over them because, well, they're clouds and because. What we do, one thing I've learned about painting clouds that is effective is when you can put light against dark, it really stands out. Like obviously the purple and the yellow is really dramatic. And so that's how you kind of construct clouds, is gradients of different contrasts. And that actually makes the sky look more dramatic than it might otherwise. Because the fact that there's something dark against the light is what makes the light look bright. Where when I first started painting, I went in with, my brightest yellow to make a sun, and it's not about that. It's about the yellow being against the white or something like that. Maybe completely just bonkers, but not totally bonkers. And I'm just mixing different gradients of red, orange, yellow to see how that works. It looks very blotchy, doesn't it? Part of it is that the paint is drying, or is dried. Ooh, I have an idea. What if we give this bank of clouds a edge, an edge, to stand out against. As they get closer to the ground, they need to be more, even more I may learn to paint clouds by accident, y'all. Okay, this is starting to work for me. It's almost like the cherries. This is what I was talking about, though, of these clouds needing to be more horizontal, because we're looking down at them. So and what will happen, watch this, if I am correct, if we bring in some of this darker shade of kind of orange color, peachy orange. Just mixing a little bit more. Oops. Want to grab a kayak looking at that already. Yeah, same, Richie, same. Sometime I hope you can visit here because I have some great kayaking spots that I found this last summer. Okay, so now let's bring in some of this orange here, and we'll bring it in right at the across the clouds. If we bring it into the, I'm lightening it with yellow, so it's more yellow than orange. And I would, I guess I should turn my, there you can see what I'm mixing here. So see the kind of red up here, that's what I was using, and then adding more yellow. If I bring that in here, and marry it, so to speak, with the more red orange. This is more a yellow orange. And then if I marry it with the red orange over here, this automatically looks more bright. See how that sun, all of a sudden the sun is brighter. That's the technique or the trick for getting a vibrant sunset is not the sun, but what's around the sun, if that makes sense. What do you paint around the sun that makes the sun look bright? Which is kind of a cool thing, because once you learn it, then it's just the limit of your skill in deploying that, which is still obviously questionable because I have very relatively little skill yet with creating clouds and sunsets and all the stuff. Take more yellow, a little bit of red. Let's make these clouds pop. It's all about the contrast. It's all about, see how I'm adjusting? Maybe you can't see. Let me turn this off. I'm adjusting these tones. There's subtle shadows in the yellows and oranges. And that's what makes this hopefully work eventually. You'll notice I'm talking less because my brain is working more. I don't know if that's good or bad. But I am getting more and more happy with this sunset. Excellent. Thank you. We don't want the lake to exactly mirror the sky because obviously there are going to be waves in the lake. So it's going to be rippled and diffused again, like I said, by the um, reflection of the water or reflection on the water or through the water. So you do want variations in the lake, but you do want it to somewhat reflect what's happening above. Okay. Starting to get there. Pretty dramatic skyline, don't you think? So, it is pretty dramatic. It is pretty dramatic. And I'm learning as I go. Trying to figure out if I can add some adding some dark shadows is going to ruin the thing or improve it. I guess the only way to do it is to try it and then, well, it definitely makes them stand out more, but then I think I should have done the dark shadows first. Dark shadows should have been first. Good lesson, Mr. Steve. Dark shadows come first. Highlights on top. Okay. Well, I'm going to quit overpainting the sky for now. But it's kind of cool that we started with, oh, let's put a sunset to we're almost at dusk. So this is clearly a different painting than we started out to paint, or I started out to paint. Have about 20 minutes left. Let's see what we can do with tidying up a little bit. What should I focus on first? Let's just step back, really look at this. Let me see what it looks like. So the gradient is not that great in the sky. I like the colors and what's going on here. And it helps because I've learned how to create that feeling of, or that illusion of the sun, the brightness of the sun, which was something I struggled with before. So that is helpful. Let's see. I don't quite like what's happening in the lake. I think that's the next place of attack. So, but in order to do that, I need some more the red on my palette. Ooh, that's a lot of that red. And some more yellow ochre. Cad yellow, I mean. Okay. Where is my, I just have my brush. Set it down somewhere and now I can't find it. I'm losing my mind, y'all. Okay. How is that possible? Okay, okay. I've got to have another brush here. But I want my filbert brush. There's another one. Weird. The brush just disappeared. Literally while I was putting paint on my palette. I'm sure it's here. I'm just so... My space, if y'all... Oh, there it is on the floor. That's why it disappeared on the floor. I wonder if you used a watery brush on the lake, if it would look more like reflective under the sun. What do you mean by watery brush? Please say more. More water in the brush? You know what they say, you can't lose something you never... Truth, Lola, truth. I can't lose my mind if I never had it. Literally a wet brush with no paint. Ah, gotcha, Marta. Yes. That's a good recommendation. The, yeah. Actually, I'll try it and we'll see. I want to get some paint on the canvas though. Another illusion you can do to create the idea or the feeling that there's reflections in the water is by overlapping these parts, because they're not going to be as defined as the sky. So like coming into the orange with a little bit of the red and vice versa really gives the idea that there's some overlap, and there is that the water, the reflection on the water is, and then this kind of a brush stroke as well kind of blends it in. So bringing some orange into the yellow, although that see what I'm doing with, it's kind of the technique, Marta, you were saying, instead of a wet brush, I mean, the brush has paint on it, but I'm just doing like these strokes across so that the wetness of the paint kind of gives that feeling of, you know, it's reflecting. But let me actually try what you recommended, just to see what happens. A wet brush with no paint. So here's a brush I've wetted with just water. Oop, except my water is like green. So let's not, so it's wet, but I've kind of brushed it out so it doesn't get any of the green in. Let me just go like this, see. So this is what happens if you do that, Marta. Which is kind of what I thought. Even very light, it's taking off the paint, and the lower, it's going back down to canvas. So I don't think I want to do much more of that. You can actually see it coming off the top layers. Now maybe it would be different if it were totally dry, but then I don't think it does anything. And this may be just because of we're using acrylics, that it's, you know, because they dry so fast that it does that. But I definitely want this covered up. I don't want those jagged brush strokes I did earlier to show through. So let me mix a little more of this orange. Actually, I want to come over and do some of the, I want actually some yellow in here. So maybe that can help us smooth some of that over. I want more of the yellow from up above. Nope, it's going to shine. The yellow is too translucent, but we will do that. Doesn't hurt anything. We're just learning, aren't we? Almost to the end of my time. I am enjoying this one so much, though. I've literally worked on Sky like 90% of the time, huh? So let's go. That's the orange. Don't want to do that. I may have to finish this one offline and then post on Instagram how I get, because I think I need 2 or 3 more sittings with this painting, or this particular subject matter, and I may totally change it. And I think this is too wet still to put. I was trying to put some red in there, but I think it's still too wet. I'm gonna have to let this lake dry a little bit, then reapply some of the, so I can get some of this darkness in there, dark color. Well, maybe we can. Nope. Still too wet, so the orange goes all the way across. So what I want to do is come back once it's dry, put some of the dark kind of purple there. And yeah. Then I want to put the skyline or horizon in again, because I've taken the lake up into the sky. But I kind of like this. I'm going to see how I like it in the morning. What I think is going on there, what I like, what I don't like. And, or, you know, at the next sitting. Well, my nephew Amos's comment, "There's no clouds," is definitely fixed now. There's plenty of clouds, huh? Maybe too many. Okay. Oh, I kind of like that. So we have distant clouds and close-up clouds, and yeah, that kind of looks cool. So I'll keep working on this, and then we'll come into the foreground, put some trees up, see if we get... Now the challenge, because we've gone so over the top with this, the challenge is going to be when we put trees in here, the light is now coming more at there. It's coming from the right side, but it's coming at the trees. So you're going to have mostly shadow down here, and you're going to have light shining differently through the trees. And I'm not sure how to make that happen or how that looks like. I'm not sure how to do it so it looks correct. So we'll have to work on that. But is that a sunset of the Arkansas River looking up toward Pinnacle? It could be, Bob, couldn't it? It looks like down by your house looking out towards, or maybe two rivers looking out towards Pinnacle. In Little Rock, for those of you not familiar with the town, the river goes right through town, and it goes out towards west of town, out towards Pinnacle Mountain State Park. And there's a hill that's called a mountain, but it's a hill that is very distinctive on the landscape of central Arkansas. And this looks like it could be, if I just put a little bump right there, it would be looking out towards Pinnacle Mountain. The sky reminds me of the sky in my fall painting. Mom, it absolutely does. That is because it is the same artist and almost the same color palette, and except I didn't have to paint it 4 times. I think I painted your sky on your canvas like 4 times to get it to where it was. So I've learned a few things in the interim. So, all right, let me back you all out a little bit, raise you up so you can look at me, because you know my pretty face. Not really. I'm being a smart aleck. Okay. All right. Well, we got basically a sky done, but it is kind of pretty, and it's a good foundation for where we're going. So that was a lot of fun. Yeah, I am not unpleased with that. That said, if you are interested in following more of my growth learning, most of you are already, but definitely subscribe on YouTube. You can follow this next year, especially, is going to be one of I think significant growth for me as a painter. I'm going to begin putting more of that into the vlogs as well. Those are just short weekly updates on what's happening in life. Now that the robbery is behind me completely, and all of that I've been kind of balancing also. Life is becoming real boring, which is just fine with me. It's just work, sitting at a computer, painting, and hiking, essentially. So that's kind of where the vlogs are headed, at least till we get some spring weather and I can be out a little more exploring. Then there will be some additional things, of course. But the vlogs are weekly and keep you updated what's going on. Also, Instagram is where I post the process photos, especially once a painting is done. So you can check that out there. That said, I appreciate you hanging out with me for a couple hours this evening. It's a blast as always. Thank you so much. I hope that you have a great week, and I look forward to seeing you next Monday. So have a great week. Stay safe and warm if you are in a cold climate like I am, and healthy as always. And I will see you next week on the live stream. Have a good night, everybody.